two, one.
How do we know if our life is actually aligned with who we're becoming? That's actually a really good question, and it had me thinking because if becoming requires us to understand how we function on the inside, who's doing the audits? Who's keeping us in check? At first, I thought about the people around me, my environment, who I socialize with, how I socialize, who I allow to influence me, who I allow to sit at my table. And all those things absolutely matter. But then I realized those aren't necessarily the audits. A lot of the time, those are just feedbacks. They're showing me the repercussions of the decisions we've already made or making. And that's when I realized I think the person responsible for auditing my life is me. We should be doing our own audit. Welcome back, my beautiful souls, to Becoming with Erika, a place where we heal out loud, grow through what tried to break us, and become everything we're meant to be. Today, we're doing something a little different. We're doing an audit. And no, I don't mean your taxes, thank God. I'm talking about a self audit because sometimes we spend so much time asking, where am I going? What do I want? What is my purpose? What is God calling me to do? That we forget to stop and ask, where am I actually at right now? Not where I think I am, not where I tell everybody I am, not where I post that I am. Where am I really? Because becoming requires honesty, not shame, not beating yourself up, honesty. And there is a difference. The self audit, the self auditing sounds like something so simple, but it's actually pretty complex because personally, I feel like I'm running on autopilot probably about 90% of the time. Okay, maybe that's an exaggeration. Maybe I mean 80%. But think about how much of our day we actually move through without consciously thinking about everything we're doing. Our routines, our reactions, the way we talk to ourselves, the people we automatically call when something happens, the things that trigger us, the things we avoid, the things we tolerate, the things we reach for when we're stressed. So, the concept of self audit is simple because you're the only person who actually has full access to what's happening inside of you. You're the one who can feel it, hear it, experience it, and know what's happening inside. But here's what makes it complex it requires awareness, it requires vulnerability, it requires probably the hardest one. It requires us to be honest with ourselves. And one thing I know about myself, and I have a feeling a lot of you guys can relate to. I am my worst critic, okay? And that's where we need to make a really important distinction. Because self audit is not the same thing as self criticism. There's a difference between let me look at myself honestly and let me find out everything that's wrong with me. Those are not the same things. One is an audit, which is data, and the other one is a verdict. Think about an actual audit. The purpose isn't supposed to be, let's prove how terrible this business is. It's let's look at what actually is happening. Where are we doing well? Where are we losing something? Where are there inconsistencies? What's growing? What's declining? What needs our attention? And most importantly, what does the information tell us to do next? That's how I want us to approach ourselves. Because if I sit down for a self audit already believing, Erica, you should be doing more. You're behind. You messed this up. You should have known better. Then I'm not auditing myself, prosecuting myself. And I don't need another prosecutor living in my head. I need an observer. I need a cur- I need curiosity. I need truth. I need compassion. And I need enough courage to look at the information without it turning into my identity. Because some things not working in my life doesn't mean I'm not working. A habit that needs changing doesn't mean I'm a failure. A relationship that needs attention doesn't mean I'm incapable of relationships. A bad decision doesn't mean I'm a bad person. It means there's something here for me to look at. And I think that's where real becoming starts. So, how do we actually know whether our life is aligned with who we're becoming? We look for evidence. Your life leaves clues everywhere. Look at your calendar. Look at your bank statement. Look at your screen time. Look at your conversations. Look at your relationships. Look at what's happening when you're stressed. Look at what you're consuming. Look at what you're creating. Look at what you keep saying you're going to do but haven't done yet. And also, look at what you've already changed. Because we're not just auditing for problems, we're auditing for growth. Remember, I said we need evidence? Maybe 6 months ago, something would have completely destroyed your peace. And today, you can process it differently. That's data. Maybe you used to say yes because you were afraid of disappointing people. And now you're learning to say no. That's data. Maybe you used to react immediately when you were angry, and now you've learned to regulate yourself before responding. That's data. Maybe something terrified you before, and now you're doing it scared anyways. That's evidence. That's becoming. So, your self audit shouldn't only ask, where am I falling short? It should also ask, where is the evidence that I'm becoming? Because both pieces of information matters. When we get to the question that started this conversation, is my life aligned with who I'm becoming? Here's one thing I think we can answer it. Here's one way I think we can answer it. Take the person you say you want to become, then look at the person you're practicing being. Not perfectly, practicing. Because none of us are going to get this right every day. But are your repeated choices generally moving you towards that person or away from that person? If you say you're becoming someone who protects her peace, are you practicing boundaries? If you say you're becoming someone who trusts God, are you creating a space to hear Him? If you say you're becoming someone who wants a healthier relationship, are you practicing healthier communication? If you say you want to build something meaningful, are you consistently giving some of your time to building it? And when the answer is no, don't attack yourself. Get curious. Why? What's getting in your way? Is it fear? Is it comfort? Is it an old habit? Is it an old belief? Is it exhaustion? Is it something you don't actually want anymore? Because sometimes a self audit might reveal something really important. Maybe the person you were trying to become isn't even the person you want to become anymore. Maybe you changed. Maybe God redirected you. Maybe something that mattered to you like 5 years ago doesn't fit you today. That's information too. And that's why we audit. not to force ourselves to some perfect version of ourselves, but to ask, who am I becoming now? Does the way I'm living support her? And what needs my attention? Because you are the only person who gets to live inside your mind. You are the only person who knows the conversations happening when nobody else is around. Other people can give you feedback. Your environment can reveal your patterns. Your relationships can hold up mirrors. God can give you convictions and direction, but ultimately, you have to be willing to look. And maybe that's the real self audit. Not asking, what's wrong with me? But asking, what is my life teaching me about myself right now? And being brave enough to listen to the answer. Nerd out time for a second. You already know I have to nerd out. Your brain is consistently learning from repetition. Every time you repeat a behavior, a thought, a pattern, an emotional response, or a routine, you're giving your brain information. You're basically saying, hey, brain, apparently this is important. Remember this. And your brain goes, got it. That's part of neuroplasticity. Your brain has the ability to change and adapt based on experience. And when certain patterns are repeated over and over, your brain gets more efficient at running them, which is actually a good thing. Imagine if every morning you had to consciously relearn how to brush your teeth, how to get out of bed, or drive your car, make your coffee. Our brain designed to automate things because it saves energy. But here's where it gets interesting. Your brain can automate patterns that help you and patterns that don't. Your brain isn't sitting there asking, Erica, is this habit aligned with the woman you're trying to become? It's learning from what you repeatedly practice. So if every time something goes wrong, I immediately assume the worst, my brain gets really good at going there. If every time I'm uncomfortable, I avoid something, my brain learns, oh, this is discomfort, means we must leave. If every time somebody is upset with me and I abandon my own boundaries to make them happy, guess what? My brain learns that pattern too. But here's the beautiful part. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to help you. If I start practicing something different, pausing before reacting, setting boundaries, speaking kindly to myself, doing something uncomfortable instead of avoiding it, taking the next step even when I'm scared, my brain can learn those patterns too. That's neuroplasticity. And that's why becoming isn't only happening during the giant breakthrough moments. It's happening on some random Tuesday morning. It's happening when your alarm goes off. It's happening when somebody triggers you. It's happening when you've got $20 left in your account. It happens when somebody likes your post or when they don't like your post. It's happening when you're exhausted. It's happening when something doesn't go according to plan. It's happening when the opportunity you've been praying for finally shows up. It suddenly you're terrified to take it, and those little moments matter because your repeated choices are giving your brain evidence. This is who you are now. And that's actually why I think we need self audits. Because remember, when I said earlier that so much of our lives can feel like we're running on autopilot, an audit interrupts the autopilot. It gives us a moment to pull something that has become automatic back into our conscious awareness and actually look at it. Sometimes our conscious mind is saying, I want something different. while our habits are still practicing the old habits of our old life. We say, I want peace. Maybe our habits are still feeding chaos. I want confidence. And maybe we're still speaking to ourselves like we're incapable. I want healthier relationships, but maybe we still avoiding uncomfortable conversations. I want to become the new version of myself, but maybe some of our everyday behaviors are still rehearsing the old version of ourselves. And again, that's not something to be ashamed of. That's something to notice. Okay? Because I'm not putting you on trial. You shouldn't put yourself on trial because you can't intentionally change a pattern if you haven't recognized it yet. Awareness gives you a choice, and a choice gives you an opportunity to practice something different and practice something different repeatedly. That's how we begin building a new pattern. So let's find out what we've been practicing. Let's audit your life. I know that sounds scary. It just sounds like, can you please come to the front of the court? You know, like scary. And even though this is just like you doing it to yourself, it takes me back to I'm my worst critic. But I want you to grab a notebook if you can. And if you're driving, please don't come back to this part later because I want us to look at a few different areas of our lives. And before we start, I want you to remember something so important. We're not grading ourselves. There is no A. There is no F. There is no congratulations. You're actually terrible at becoming. We're gathering data. That's it. And I actually want you to approach yourself almost like a scientist for a minute. Observe before you judge. And keep this in mind. Please keep this in mind. We listen and we don't judge. Seriously. Instead of, why am I like this? Try, that's interesting. Why do I do that? Instead of, I always mess everything up. Try, what seems to happen right before I make that decision? Instead of, I should be further along by now. Try, where was I a year ago compared to where I am today? Curiosity gives us information. Criticism usually just gives us shame. And we're not here to shame ourselves into becoming. We are here to understand ourselves into becoming. So take a second, get honest, get curious, and let's look at the data. What is your life showing you? Okay, my beautiful souls, we're going to break this down piece by piece. But before we do, I need you to remember one rule through the entire audit. We listen and we don't judge. Okay? Because some of these questions might make you uncomfortable. Some might make you realize, ooh, I've been doing that. So some might make you proud. Some might show you something you've been avoiding. And some might reveal a pattern you didn't even realize was there. Whatever comes up, we listen and we don't judge. I want you to seriously do this audit with the best intentions, not with the intentions of finding everything that's wrong with you, but with the intentions of becoming the best version of yourself, or at least taking another step towards that person. And listen, my beautiful souls, before we continue, I want you to know something. You are amazing. You are deserving. You are worthy of taking the time to understand yourself. And whatever you discover during this audit, please, do not erase how far you already come. We're simply checking in. Where am I? What's working? What needs my attention? And where do I want to go from here? All right? Because I just want you to just be aware of who you're becoming or who you become. So let's keep this going. Number one, your mind. Let's start upstairs. What have you been feeding your brain lately? What are you listening to? What are you watching? Who are you following? What conversations are currently practicing in? And more importantly, how are you talking to yourself? I feel like that is so important. How are you talking to yourself? When you make a mistake, what does the voice in your head sound like? Does it say, okay, that didn't work? What can we learn? Or does one mistake turn into, see, you always screw up? When an opportunity appears, does your brain immediately start listening or not listening, but start listing everything that could go wrong? When you look in the mirror, do you speak to yourself like someone you're responsible for taking care of or someone you're consistently disappointed in? And here's another one. Would you speak to somebody you love the way you sometimes speak to yourself? Don't answer that for me. Answer that for you. I think it's so important to love yourself first and take care of yourself first because then you're teaching yourself a pattern of how to treat other people. I mean, if you're always doubting and criticizing yourself, you're most likely going to be doubting and criticizing others, whether it's to their faces or not. Is that love? We got to give ourselves love and compassion if we're going to share love and compassion to others. What thoughts have been taking up the most in your mind lately? Are they helping you become? Are they keeping you stuck in a version of yourself you're trying to outgrow? Audit it. Don't judge it. Notice it. Remember, we listen and we don't judge. Number 2, your habits. All right, this one might be a little of a stinger for some of us. What do you say you want? And what do your habits say you want? Those can be completely different. Sometimes we could be aligned with it, sometimes because those can be completely different things. You can say you want to build a business, but never actually work on your business. I know I'm guilty of that. You can say you want peace, but consistently practice in things that disturb your peace. You can say you want a deeper relationship with God, but never create a space to actually sit with Him. That was me too. I remember, like I said, I wanted to get closer to God. And how much closer can you get if you actually open up the book and read His Word? I would just go to church and sit there and listen and then walk out and not practice anything, not continue to listen to Him and, build a deeper connection. I would literally just go to church, listen, and then leave. And then it's like back to my normal life. And it was just like a list to check off, not a connection to build. You can say you want to become healthier while repeatedly ignoring what your body is asking. You can say you want something different while repeating the exact behaviors that created what you're currently having. And listen, we listen and we don't judge. We're looking for alignment because remember, what we just nerd out about, your brain learns through repetition. So your habits are important information in your audits. Ask yourself, what am I repeatedly practicing? Then here's the question that might tell you more than anything else. if I repeated this exact week for the next year, where would it take me? Same routines, same habits, same amount of effort, same conversations, same spending, same scrolling, same boundaries, same choices. Repeat this week 52 times. Where do you end up? Oof, I know, but that's an audit. And then we got number 3, your relationships. Now let's look at the people around us and not from a place of, okay, who do I need to cut off? Because listen, the internet loves telling everybody to cut everybody off. Your friend annoyed you. Cut him off. Your boyfriend didn't text back fast enough. Cut him off. Somebody disagreed with you. They're toxic. They're toxic. No, that's not what we're doing here. We're asking, who brings out the healthiest version of me? Who can tell me the truth, even when it's not what I want to hear? Who celebrates my growth? Who's challenging me? Who respects my boundaries? Who makes me feel safe enough to be honest? Who leaves me feeling energized? Who consistently leaves me feeling drained? But hold on, because here's where the self part of self audit comes in. Flip the questions around. What kind of person am I in the relationship? Do I listen? Do I communicate what I actually need? Do I apologize when I'm wrong? Do I respect other people's boundaries? Do I expect people to read my mind? Do I hold people accountable for expectations I never communicated? Do I show up for people the way I expect them to show up for me? Am I creating the kind of relationships I say I want? Because a real self audit doesn't just evaluate everybody sitting at your table. Sometimes you have to ask, what am I bringing to the table? And remember, we listen and we don't judge. Number 4, your time. Ooh. This one tells the truth. Where does your time actually go? Not where you think it goes. Where does it actually go? And listen, your phone probably has receipts. Yep, time to clock in. Go look at that screen time report if you're feeling brave. I know one time in church, our pastor's like, you want to know where your time and effort's going? Look into your phone. There's a section there that will tell you exactly where your screen time goes. It even catalogs and even catalogs it in certain perspectives. Like it will tell you where social media, where texting, where calling all is, and how much time of it. Literally breaks it down for you. How much time are you consuming versus creating? How much time are you spending worrying about something you haven't taken action on? How much time are you spending thinking about what somebody else is doing? How much time goes towards things that actually matter to you? How much time are you spending recovering because you've stretched yourself too thin? And how much time are you giving to the things you keep saying are important? Because sometimes we say, I don't have time, but sometimes what we actually mean is, I haven't made it a priority yet. And sometimes that's okay. Everything can't be a priority at the same time. But this is an audit. So let's at least tell ourselves the truth about what we've chosen to prioritize. Because where you spend your time gives you some pretty powerful information about the life you're currently building. Your emotional, skipping. Number 5, your emotional life. Okay, here's a big one. What emotions have been running your life lately? Is it fear, anger, compassion, anxiety, resentment, jealousy, excitement, peace, gratitude, hope, joy. And notice I included both because we're not auditing only what's uncomfortable. We're auditing all of it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, don't just ask, what am I feeling? Go one step deeper and ask, what might this feeling be trying to tell me? Because emotions are informations. They aren't always instructions. Fear might tell you something feels uncertain or unfamiliar. That doesn't automatically mean don't go. Anger might tell you that you feel hurt, threatened, frustrated, or the boundary may have been crossed. That doesn't automatically mean attack. Sadness can tell you that something mattered to you. That doesn't mean something is wrong with me. Jealousy might even reveal something you deeply desire. That doesn't mean I need to resent the person who has it. Sometimes it might mean pay attention. There's something here that matters to you. And happiness, peace, excitement, those deserve our attention too. Ask, what was happening when I felt most like my what blah. Okay, the tongue twister. Sorry. What was happening when I felt most liked? Who was I around? What was I doing? What was I not doing? Because that's data too. Your job isn't to eliminate every difficult emotion and walk around happy 24/7. That's not human. Your job is to become aware enough to hear what you're feeling automatic without automatically handing that emotion to the steering wheel. You can let fear sit in the car. It just doesn't always have to get to drive. And this is where I want you to stop for a second. Look at everything you've written so far: your mind, your habits, your relationship, your time, your emotions. Do you see any patterns? Because that's what we're looking for. Not perfections, patterns. Maybe the same fear shows up in 3 different categories. Maybe one relationship has affected your mind, your emotion, and your habit. Maybe you discover you're spending almost no time on something you claim is one of the biggest priorities. Or maybe you're looking at this page thinking, wait a minute, I'm actually doing better than I thought. Good. Write that down too. This audit isn't only about discovering where you need to grow, it's also about collecting evidence of where you've already grown. We listen and we don't judge. And we pay attention to what data is telling us. Okay, that was your self audit. Now, let's audit the future. Okay, my beautiful souls, we've looked at our minds, our habits, our relationship, our time, our emotions. We gathered some data about where we are right now, but an audit doesn't mean much if we don't know what we're comparing it to. So now let's audit the future. And here's where I really want you to pay attention. Picture the person you keep saying you want to become. Really picture her. And I don't mean picture her money. Don't picture her house. Don't picture her car. Don't picture how many followers she has. Don't picture the title behind her name. Strip all of that away. Picture her. Who is she when nobody's watching? How does she think? How does she respond when she's disappointed? How does she handle money? How does she speak to herself? How does she speak about other people? How does she treat people who can't do anything for her? How does she do when she's scared? Or what does she do when she's scared? What does she do when things don't go according to plan? How does she handle conflicts? What does her relationship with God look like? What boundaries does she have? What does she protect? What does she make time for? What does she no longer chase? What does she no longer tolerate? And here's a big one. What does she no longer need validation for? Sit with her for a minute. Because sometimes when we say, I want to become successful, what we're actually picturing are the rewards of becoming. But we're not thinking about the character of the person capable of carrying those rewards. And I don't just want to know what she has, I want to know who she had become to hold it. Now, look back at the audit you just did. Your mind, your habits, your relationship, your time, your emotional life, and compare them without judgment to the person you just described. Where are you already aligned with her? Circle those. Seriously, because that's evidence. And where do you see a gap? Don't shame yourself for the gap. The gap is information because now you know where to practice. Ask yourself, what does she do regularly that I can start practicing today? Not someday, not when I have more money, not when I'm more confident, not when somebody gives me permission. Today. Because here's something I've learned. You don't magically wake up as a person someday. There's no magical Tuesday where you open your eyes and go, oh, I'm her now. You practice becoming her little by little, choice by choice, conversation by conversation, boundary by boundary, prayer by prayer, decision by decision, neural pathways by neural pathways. Maybe future you handles conflict differently. Practice pausing before reacting today. Maybe future you takes care of her body. Drink the water. Take the walk. Go to bed early. Maybe future you is financially responsible. Look at the account instead of avoiding it. Maybe future you trusts herself. Keep one small promise to yourself today. Maybe future you has a stronger relationship with God. Spend 5 intentional minutes with Him today. These things might feel small, but remember what we talked about earlier. Repetition is teaching your brain who you are. Every small aligned decision becomes another piece of evidence. This is who we are now. And eventually, something you once had to consciously practice starts becoming part of how you live. That's becoming. And this part is really important to me because I can ask myself questions. I can look at my habits. I can look at my relationships. I can look at my screen time. I can journal until my hand hurts. But there's something I have to acknowledge. I have blind spots. We all do. There are things other people might see in us that we can't see yet. There are patterns we've repeated for so long that they feel normal. There are things we justify, things we avoid, things we don't recognize because we've been living inside of them for years. So, if I'm seriously asking who am I becoming, then I don't just want my own perspective. I want God's perspective too, because here's something else I've been thinking about. Sometimes we constantly ask God for the next thing. God, show me my purpose. God, open the door. God, grow me. God, give me the opportunity. God, help me become who you created me to be. And there's something wrong with those prayers. I pray those prayers, but maybe we need to add another one. God, show me what already in me that needs my attention. Oof. God, show me what's already in me that needs my attention. Oof. That one stung a little for me because that's a different prayer. That's not God changed my circumstance. That's God examined me. Psalms 139:23-24 says, "Search me, God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there is any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting." Think about what that prayer is actually asking. Search me, not everybody else, me. Know my heart. What's underneath my behaviors? What's underneath my reactions? What's underneath the things I keep doing? Test my thoughts. What am I believing? What am I afraid of? What am I holding on to? Show me, reveal the things I might not recognize on my own, and then lead me. That's basically a spiritual self audit. Search me, know me, show me, lead me. And notice what we're not praying. We're not praying, "God, show me everything wrong with me so I can sit here and hate myself." No, we're saying, "God, show me what needs my attention so we can lead me through it." That's completely different because conviction should move us towards transformation. Shame makes us want to hide. And God isn't asking us to become perfect before we come to him. We're inviting him to we're inviting him into the becoming. Maybe your audit reveals that you've been holding resentment. Okay, God help me work through it. Maybe it reveals that fear has been making more decisions than faith. Okay, God show me what I'm afraid of. Maybe it reveals that you're constantly searching for validations from people. God, why do I need them to tell me something I already said about me? Maybe it reveals something beautiful. Maybe you look back and realize, God, you really have changed me. Maybe some things that would have broken you 2 years ago doesn't have the same power over you anymore. Maybe you're more patient. Maybe you're more compassionate. Maybe you're learning boundaries. Maybe you're learning to trust. Maybe you're learning to forgive. Maybe you're finally giving yourself some grace. Thank Him for that too. Because a spiritual self audit shouldn't only be, "God, show me where I need work." It can also be, "God, show me where you already been working." Sometimes we're so focused on how far we still have to go and forget to look behind us and recognize how far God has already brought us. And maybe that's part of today's audit too. Look at the person you used to be. Look at the person sitting here today and look at the person you're becoming. Then ask, what's my next faithful step? Not my next 100 steps, not the entire blueprint. Just, God, what needs my attention next? And whatever comes up, remember one rule. We listen and we don't judge. We get curious, we give ourselves grace, and then we keep becoming. So, sometime this week, I want you to sit down with yourself. No social media, no pretending, no comparing answers to anybody else's life. Just you, God, and the truth. Ask yourself, what is working in my life right now? What isn't working anymore? What am I avoiding because it's uncomfortable? What habit is helping me become? What habit is keeping me attached to an old version of myself? Where am I spending my time? Who am I surrounding myself with? What am I consuming mentally? What am I tolerating that I know needs my attention? What am I proud of myself for? Where have I grown that I haven't given myself credit for? What is one thing God may be asking me to pay attention to? Now, before I give you the last question, look at your answers. Don't immediately start trying to fix them. Remember, we listen and we don't judge. Just look. What keeps showing up? Is there a fear underneath several of your answers? Is there a habit affecting more areas of your life than you realized? Is there a relationship influencing how you think, feel, and behave? Is there something you keep saying matters to you, but your time is telling you a different story? And don't just look for what needs work. Where's the growth? Where did you answer differently than you would have 6 months ago? Where did you realize, wow, I actually handled that differently this time? Where is the evidence that you're already becoming? Because that matters too. Now, after looking at all of it, I want you to answer one final question. Does the life I'm living today support the person I'm praying to become? Don't use this answer as ammunition against yourself. Use them as data because maybe your audit shows you that you've got some work to do. Okay, welcome to becoming human. But maybe your audit is also going to show you something you weren't expecting. Maybe you going to realize, wait a minute, I actually have changed. I handle things differently now. I don't react the way I used to. I have boundaries I didn't have before. I'm showing up. I'm trying. I'm learning. I'm building. I'm healing. Maybe you aren't as far behind as your brain keeps telling you. Maybe you've already becoming. And that, my beautiful soul, is what becoming is all about. We don't audit ourselves to prove we're failing. We audit ourselves so we can become intentional about where we're going. You don't need to change everything today. Find one thing, one habit, one conversation, one boundary, one decision, one prayer, one small place where your current life and your future self aren't quite aligned yet. And work on that because small choices repeated over time becomes evidence. Evidence becomes belief. Belief influences behavior. And behavior starts building a life. So this week, don't ask yourself what's wrong with me. Ask what is my life showing me? And then get curious about the answers. Give yourself grace for where you've been. Give yourself credit for how far you've become and take responsibilities for where you're going next. I'll see you in the next time, my beautiful souls. Until then, keep healing, keep growing, and keep becoming. Thank you. God bless.